This is the introductory video. First, what's in the box? Today in the box we have COVID-19 mask. That represents the fact that we're all home learning right now. I'm glad you're here with me. The second thing is my funny socks today. They have flamingos on them. Why flamingos? Flamingos are super resilient. I thank you, Flora Lickman, for teaching me that flamingos can be in super cold water, freeze, wake up the next day, get up, no problem, take their legs out, and go on with their lives. Then they can go to hot springs and also survive that. So this is a difficult time, but we can survive it. Last thing in my box today is this. What's in this? An orange. I'm showing you this because I want to give you some ideas for around the house at home math, DIY math. So this, as you can see, has all kinds of sections in it. Great thing to talk about fractions, proportions. You can even measure it because it's circular and talk about pi. Pi is my favorite, PI. So this isn't perfectly round, so it could give you some really interesting discussions. Speaking of interesting discussions, the first thing that we should do is establish some norms. So norms for me in my classes are, these are borrowed from UQ. Joe Bowler is a math education professor at Stanford University, and she has influenced me a lot. Other people who have influenced me are Eric Jensen, Carol Dweck, and Dan Meyer. So I want to shout out to them because a lot of the things that I will say and do are very much influenced by these amazing thinkers. My students, I often get kids who have dyscalculia, kids who have had a bad experience in math. Well, right now, right here, I want you to think, I can do math to high levels. That's our first norm. And you really can. Maybe you haven't had great experiences in math, but nobody's born with a math brain. You just need lots of good new experiences. Ask my students, anyone can learn math. Next, mistakes are valuable. In my classroom, if you make a mistake, great. That is the time when your brain is growing the most. Challenges and struggles are great for your brain. When I make a mistake, my students get jewels, which we then use for prizes and things later, because mistakes are so important to me, and that's when we learn the most. So make lots of mistakes. And that's why I called this humble pie, because I make so many mistakes. This definitely will not be perfect. Questions are really important. Questioning things, thinking about things. Math is about creativity and making sense. So math has patterns. You're just like, you're out there and you're looking for patterns. And that's when you really begin to understand math. Math is about connections and it's about communicating. So right now we can't have a lot of collaboration unless it's online, but even having discussions with your family or having discussions online about things, it's so valuable. There's no better time to do math than when you can collaborate and discuss it. Math class is about learning and it's not about performing. In my class, it was never as important to me what my student did on a test. It was always more important to sit face to face, even though that took way longer, and discuss something with them. So in lieu of doing traditional exams at midterm, we had one-on-one interviews and I sat with each student. And even though it took so much longer, I had such valuable insight to what they knew and I learned a lot from them. Depth is more important than speed. This has affected so many students. They feel like if they don't do it quickly, they're not learning or they aren't very good at math. But that's not true at all. Some of the greatest mathematicians in the world have been the ones that are deep thinkers and it takes them longer. Thank you, Joe Bowler, for reminding me of that. Okay, next, when you're doing DIY learning, in New Brunswick, Canada, we have this wonderful STEM East newsletter that's just come out. So for all of our students at home watching this, you can do all kinds of really cool questions from this. So math teachers hopefully will send this out. I will show you. Open-ended questions, real thinkers, really interesting. Okay, so what can you do at home to make math fun? Well, you can, if you have dice, you can roll it, do sums, you could do multiplication, you could see who gets the higher amount, speaking of mistakes, who gets the higher amount, and compare, subtract. If you don't have dice, you can do what my 7-year-old did and make your own. And the cool thing about these is because she didn't make them into cubes, we had a great discussion about probability. So will we have one number more than the others because, or are the outsides going to be more than the insides here in the center because we don't know if it's better balanced this way? So we got to do some physics too. You can go around and find maybe a pack of cards. That's great math. Maybe play cribbage. Tons of math in that. Hopefully you're going to be doing some reading. Reading, you say, that's not math. Well, my daughter just read this book. It has arithmetic in the title, but reading will just grow your brain. And I often have students ask me, when will I ever use this math that I'm learning? That's not the point. The point is that it's making your brain grow. It's giving you extra connections and neural pathways so that you can do whatever you want in life and be a great problem solver. So keep doing all kinds of math or reading or anything that's going to grow your brain. So what are some other things you can do? Well, I'm going to keep disappearing because all my stuff is on the table. If you have some modeling clay and a mason jar, grab the cover, use this to press it down. Then you can take your actual round part of the cover, cut out a beautiful circle, and ta-da, you have a chance to make all kinds of fractions. So maybe you want to talk about halves and how many quarters can go in a half. Again, mistakes are made. These are not equal. Well, the great thing about clay is you can ball it up and start again. Okay, what else? We can take, if you have a sewing measuring tape, or even if you just have a string and a ruler, you can go around and you can measure round objects in the house. Like this pie plate. You could even measure this guy. You could measure a jar of seed butter. You could measure cans. And then I challenge you to figure out the diameter or the distance across your round object, your circular object, and see how long this is. And then multiply that by 3.14. See if it gives you the outside. Another one of my daughters and I went around and we did a circle challenge. So we went circle hunting and we measured everything. And then we wanted to compare, is that the same when we multiply by 3.14? Then we got into a great discussion about pi, where it came from. And you know what is the best part about that? Is that the reason they discovered that is because they had time. They had time and less distractions than we do today to sit around and think about those things. So we have time. Great inventions might come out of this time. Great ideas. So just take some time to play with math and have some fun. Okay, I think that's the end of our first video. Oh, I know, one other thing. Puzzles. Puzzles are great. If you can get your hands on some puzzles, you can do some great math thinking. This is a game that my grandmother taught me. Awesome math in this. Okay, oh, one last thing. Just found another circle from my dog. This is what a sewing measuring tape looks like. And one of my daughters lent this to me. So I will leave you with this. Bubble fail. Think about how come a sphere is the most efficient shape and why every single time when we blow bubbles, even if it's in a star-shaped bubble wand, it ends up being a sphere at the end. Why is that? Okay, that's my last question for today. Oh, one other thing I thought of. If you want to make some graphs, you can use a chalk line from your garage. This is my chalk line, and I use it with my kids to draw graphs on our driveway. And then it's even more fun. And then you could use your dice that you made, because they're huge, and use some chalk to draw different graphs. And actually, our next video, we're going to talk about equations of a line. Till then,